Hello and welcome. Last time we talked about clock management. Well, this is about endless endurance. Kick that clock out of here. We've got to go full throttle right from the start. I'll explain why once we start going. I was hoping this would be impressive, so I've hired the manager and the agent. I've been practicing this one since I just released my video using this exact car talking about clock management. I encourage you to go check out that video so you can see how these are so different. So this endless endurance racing is all about passing 42 cars as fast as possible. So you've got to just forget about your clock. Who cares if you're overfilling it? The only time you're looking at that clock is when you're making decisions about do I cut or not. And we'll get to that. Here's the specs for this fully upgraded car. This race is in the Venom F5 exclusive series, so you'd have to be fully upgraded. The costs were just there as well. I'm going to get into my braking points as well because this is a monster. You got to get on the brakes so ridiculously early and then make plans about where you're going to handle these bots. Now, I've had to pay attention to how the bots are acting differently from lap to lap, so I know what to anticipate. So lap 1, of course, they're going to be really slow. And then lap 2, they're going to be faster, and so on and so on. By lap 4, if you're doing this, by lap 3, they're as hard as they're going to get, which is harder than fully upgraded. Ooh, a little bit off track. Didn't want that. This is ridiculously difficult. Gotta love the drafting feature when you're in a car that can exceed 500 kilometers an hour, but you've got to make note of that. If you were drafting, now you have to tweak your braking points, right? So this gets really tricky. And my braking point on this section's ridiculous. We'll get into that later. This is more difficult than the McLaren MP4X. So why do this? Well, that's a good question. Why do this? It doesn't pay near as much as the McLaren MP4X, and the McLaren MP4X is cheaper to fully upgrade. So I'm just doing this because I said it wasn't possible, and I guess I should have practiced more. It is possible. It's not necessarily profitable. I haven't even looked at that yet. We're going to get to that at the very end of this video. I'll do some calculations and give them to you. But I know that this race does not pay as much as the McLaren MP4X. So that one pays 4,800 fame per lap. I don't believe there's any other version of Le Mans Endurance that pays that much in the game. So going from that, I already know this pays nowhere near as much because this one's 2,400 fame per lap. Okay, this back section, really difficult in the Venom F5. There's a whole bunch of additional braking points compared to the McLaren MP4X. This thing slides so far, you're going so fast, and when you start sliding, it's very hard to deal with traffic. Like right here, I just got to go for it and then hopefully deal with it as I'm sliding because I can't necessarily see those bots before I get there. This point, you got to get on the brakes a lot earlier, so scraping by this guy, and then I got to plan my entrance onto the Mulsanne straight. Oh, that was horrible. Thankfully, he won't be too fast. I'll catch a draft, and I'll slingshot around him, so that'll be sweet. A little bit of side draft, check it out. Well, I'm going to be careful. But you can see, catch a little bit of side draft. It's kind of cool. And then I got to get down those brakes. I've got a point that I use. I'll get into that on the next lap, maybe. Oh, scrape. There's a big scrape down the side. Didn't hurt my windshield. The one thing I will say is this car is not as delicate as the McLaren MP4X. That car, man, it gets damaged easy. And at least in that car, you can keep going after max damage. Oh, not necessarily in this thing. Okay, now there's much better job driving through that one, that chicane. And then we've got the sharp corner. So, clock management technique will let me get over 50 kilometers. Even that is extremely difficult. To go anything past that, you got to trigger an endless endurance race, which is, as I was saying, really challenging in this car. But sometimes it's just worth the challenge. So I'm here to show you that it's possible, it's just not necessarily profitable. I would say that a better option is the Bugatti Bolide if you're looking for something in a super fast car. Now, there's a difference between fast and quick. That might sound ridiculous, but yes, this car is substantially faster than the McLaren MP4X as far as top speed. But the McLaren MP4X is quicker for lap times because the brakes are insane and the grip is insane. The grip is over double what this car has. So it's kind of, that's why I got to slow down so much. Like here, I got to get on the brakes so stinking early. And oftentimes I'm in huge trouble at this point, at the end of the second lap. Thankfully, I'm not this time around. I'm actually doing great, which means that the perpetual point won't be too far away from here. Now, you gotta be so careful firing through this last chicane because, oh, look at that. That got kind of close, right? So here, I can't take this cut the way I usually would. As you notice, I'm taking it way sooner. And then that turns me into a rocket when I'm going across this under the Dunlop Bridge. So I'm on the brakes super early here. Sliding around, I won't show you my braking points here, but yikes. Okay, let's start talking about braking points. Now, a lot of this is based on my entrance to Mulsanne, okay? So there's a slight corner coming up here, and I'm gonna look at my speed. I wanna be 420 at that corner. If I'm not at 420, I will adjust my braking point. Start looking to your left for the green barriers that appear. I'm normally braking at the end of those green barriers. If I was drafting and I was 430, I'd be braking earlier. Because I was a little bit slower this time, I was braking a little bit later. So that just takes some experience, some trial and error to sort that out. Again, you're going to be watching on your left-hand side for that same green barrier, but this time we're going to brake at the very beginning of it, sometimes a little bit earlier if you were drafting, later if your last corner was bad, if you're going through that chicane bad. Like here, well, that was bad, but here I'm catching a bit of draft. Okay, so for this next braking point, I'm braking usually 2 to 3 car lengths past this point, and this time it'll probably be about that, but that's my reference point. So about 2 to 3 car lengths after that, I'm on the brakes. That's whether I'm going to cut this or whether I'm going to take it straight. I do it the same way. That was a little cut, catch a little bit of draft here. This braking point gets really weird. In the Bugatti Bolide, I'd be braking even earlier. So in this car, right after the next corner, there's some sand. In the Bugatti Bolide, I'm braking there. This car, it's a little bit later, right as I'm driving over that arrow. It's hard to see it at speed. That's what I'm doing. And then depending, that'll vary, right? This one's almost always the same, braking at the end of this wall. Whether I'm taking this cut or not, I'm using that same braking point. The difference is when I get back on the throttle. I'm not showing you my throttle points because a lot of that is about feel and how slippery I am. Then watching on your left, the first distance marker appearing on the slight corner, definitely on the brakes no later than that, and get on as soon as you can, as soon as it feels like you can get on clean. You don't want to slide much. Another braking point here, this is by feel, and it's adjusted depending whether the bots are, so I'm not showing you all the points. Very slight point here. Then, if you can get a straight path through the chicane, you could fly through it. I'm going to brake a little bit just because there's going to be some high traffic, and then I'm going to thread the needle a bit. Ooh, nice. Bots are getting nice and close together. So then it starts to get a bit easier, right? But still, I'm going to slow down more for this cut so I can really know what I'm doing. I do not want to plow into a wall of bots. You get damaged in this car, you can forget about this endurance race. It's just going to be over unless you really practice. And again, I don't really think that's going to be worthwhile because the McLaren MP4X just pays better. It pays more than double because you're having faster lap times. And it's cheaper to fully upgrade. But anyway, this time I was close to 420 as I rounded that corner. I'll glance down at my speed a little bit here and there. And yeah, you can see I just went a tiny skosh over 500. And getting all sorts of tangled up. Ugh. I don't know if I can actually keep this going now. Well, we are gonna just go for this anyway. My target's 100 kilometers, but this is ridiculously difficult. So this is the race I'm showing you. And here a little bit, great. That's just wonderful. How do I look? Okay, I was braking later because of how tangled up I got at the first Mulsanne chicane. Obviously, I was braking too late and I've risked the whole race. So sometimes I drive this in really deep and bounce off the wall. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to try to get onto this really nice and hopefully salvage this on the back section. So I'm hoping I get the chance to do 2 or 3 overtakes a few corners from now. So I got to brake nicely here. Sometimes I got to scrub some speed if I came in here too fast. So to scrub speed, I throw it sideways for a little bit. Here, look at this. I get 2, hopefully 3. Oh, good. I got 3 overtakes. That is a massive sigh of relief, because now all I have to do is get to the last chicane without getting tangled up, and I'll catch some traffic there and I can get this going to the next lap. This is more than enough time. Oh crap. Big mistake, big mistake. That's because I had the right braking point and the wrong trajectory. Okay, well, now I'm gonna get into trouble. Sliding around a bit there, that was nice. So I just gotta go for it. I gotta hammer down the throttle, get into the chicane, and then deal with the traffic. Okay, so, oh nuts, I clipped him, all right. Okay, you see what I did with the throttle there? As I was heading to the wall, rather than braking, I got on the throttle as I was turning my car, so the back end was hitting the wall. If you bounce off the wall with the back end, yeah, you'll take on damage, but not the type of damage that hurts your speed in the game. It'll just hurt your rewards at the end, and oh well, you'll lose a tiny bit of clean race bonus. Doesn't matter at this point. All right, so I want to have a really nice entrance onto the Mulsanne straight here. I might cut this a little bit and not get... Okay, really don't want to get your left quarter panel tag there, because that'll be your race-ending mistake. Okay, so... Ooh, I was slow rounding that corner, so I'm going to be braking deep. Not too deep. You can always fix an early braking point. You can't fix a late braking point as easy. So I'm going to be careful here. That's beautiful. Let's catch a bit of draft. Okay, let's side draft a bit. Check it out. A little bit of side draft. Didn't hurt me at all. Gave me a bit of a bonus. Now, because I came out of that pretty good and I caught some side draft, I'll just nail my braking point. And then sometimes you can take all four tires off track here. If you get in too deep, take all four tires off track. You actually get better braking with all tires off track. It sounds ridiculous. 2 tires off track is the worst for your brakes. It'll make your car will travel further. Sometimes you do it for trajectory though. All right, so I'm doing okay. Gonna cut this a bit, slice him. Oh, okay, there we go. So again, this section here, after I round the second slight bend, I am watching for that arrow. It's not easy to see, but it comes very shortly after the sand ends on the right. Over that arrow on those brakes. Now, this time it felt like I was a little over braking. I took 2 tires off track to gain a little bit more speed. And look at that beautiful drive out of that corner. That's awesome. I hope I can catch one here. Barely. Oh my gosh, is that risky. Left quarter panel right there. Like, it's really hard not to have that turn into a self-inflicted pit maneuver. The way I avoided that, I was heavy on the throttle and I was over tilting to the right just a bit. So here again, I got to be careful. I don't have that much extra on my clock. However, at this point, I know what the bots are doing. I know we're going to have steady groups of bots. So I'm going to just be running out of time when I hit the last chicane, but I'm actually going to be on the brakes. So just watch this. I'm going to preload the brakes right now. As soon as I let go of the throttle, I have brakes. Why am I doing that? Because I only need to pass 3 bots. And then 68 seconds at the line, that's 68 plus 30, that's 98. Well, I'm only credited 90. So 3 bots plus the lap gives me more than enough to fill my timer. And now, sliding through this. Whoa, careful. It's just a lot of dicey in this car. The whole thing's dicey. It's just, so it's a challenge. Whoa, boy. 82 seconds. I don't know if I can catch this guy. Let's see if I can catch some draft. Ooh, that was a nice drive onto Mulsanne. Can I catch some draft? I might just get a whiff of it. Just a whiff. But that took me over 420. Okay, I gotta watch my braking point here. That means I should be braking early. And then I lifted a little bit. Hopefully that was a smart idea. Oh, that was actually a really smart idea. That was really good anticipation. I lifted a little bit as I was heading into my braking zone to overtake that bot. It felt like he was gonna be in the perfectly wrong spot. So there's a lot of experience needed, and some of that is just from practice. So I gave this probably, I don't know, probably 25, 30 attempts today, and before I made the video you see here. And, ooh, that didn't sound very good. Okay. Well, that might be stage 1 damage, but I don't care. At this point, I'm gonna pound this guy. Just to make sure I got that overtake. Now I'm damaged, and so my strategy will shift. I purposely braked late so I could hit him, wrecking his braking spot so that he would slide off track and I'd get a guaranteed overtake. That might be it. This might be it for me. I don't know. I don't want to risk it too much. I was thinking of just throwing it into here and bouncing off the walls, but I don't want to do that. Oh, they're right there. Can I get him? No, I'm not. Okay, let's drive it in. I know I can't take an off-track cut at the very first braking point coming up here. It's just not successful. So I'll try to really nail this braking point and then set up an off-track throw here and just, a little bit loose. Let's just see if I can catch anyone if I go off track. Not gonna happen. Okay, I'm gonna get back what happened to me on Halloween. I'm gonna go 7777. Because on Halloween I had an endurance race that ended at 666. That scared me. Actual race time of 15 minutes and 22 seconds. With that, I can get the math. That's from green light to when I stop. And you can see it's really not that great. Way better races that are easier than this one. Check out the MP4X version. It's the highest earning race in the entire game. Please like and subscribe. Drop me a comment if you want to. Race you later.